The logic behind a content management system is that the site owners can make content edits such as text and image updates without needing to go back to the original designer. When using Surreal CMS with Muse, you as the original designer can define which content you would like your customers to edit. This is a great feature because you may want to limit edits to a small section of your site. We've all had customers try to make an edit and destroy an entire site. We can avoid this entirely with Surreal. Here's how we define which content we would like our users to edit. Okay, so our site is all linked up to Surreal, and now we need to tell Muse which sections of the site we want to edit. There's two ways to do this, and one way is better than the other. The first way you can do this is directly within Surreal, and from this section you could click Define Content Regions. It's going to bring up your page that you selected. In this case, it was the home page. And then when you mouse over areas on the site, they will highlight, and we can click on them and you'll see an outline forms just like that. And that means you're defining those as editable. And so you can continue scrolling down and make different things editable all the way through. This is a risky method though for you to define editable content. And that reason is because sometimes the way that Muse generates these files, it's really difficult for you to get at the content that you need editable. For example, these images, note that the frame is not around the image, it's around some parent container. So unfortunately, Muse has such complex layering and elements like that, that this method doesn't always work perfectly. So I recommend you define regions within your Muse base file. So I'm just going to uncheck these for now, and I'm going to click Exit, so we haven't defined any content regions. So if I drop back to Muse, the way that Surreal sees an element or an item as editable is it needs what's called a CSS class, and that class needs to be called Editable. So if I open up the home page, we need to define these classes, and the way that we do that is through the use of graphic styles. If we create a graphic style called Editable and apply it to elements on the site, they will be editable in Surreal. Pretty tricky, right? So the way that we can do this is I first like to create a graphic style based on nothing, a completely blank style. So making sure that nothing is clicked, I'm going to go over to graphic styles. I'm going to click brand new one. There's one here called style 1. And I'm going to call this editable, just like that, and click OK. So it's basically a blank style. Now, one thing you need to be careful of, and I've run into this a few times, is when I click off, by default, Muse seems to think I'm selecting the page itself. So now, notice that editable seems to be highlighted, even though I don't have anything on the page highlighted. So once I've created that style, I like to just click None. And what that does is make sure the page doesn't have that editable class. So now we've created this style called editable right there, but nothing yet has it applied. So the next thing we'll do is we'll run through the site, and anything that I want to be editable, I'm just going to add that graphic style to. So let's click this headline, and here's another headline. And we could scroll down and we could make, let's say, this block of text editable, and maybe this graphic. And notice how, because I used a blank graphic style, nothing's changing or overriding. This blank style name is just being applied. So I can jump into our About page, and we could scroll down, and let's just make this text block here editable. And there's tons of different columns and different text blocks that we could define. So let's go with these two, and there. That's good enough for now. So once I've defined these items as editable, all I'm going to do now is I'm going to publish the site back up to my FTP account. So it should have saved my settings and all my login information. It did. So let's just click OK, and it's going to upload the latest version of the Muse file with those editable regions defined. Okay, so now that our site is published up, let's go back into Surreal, and I'm actually just going to refresh this page. And you'll notice that we don't get the error anymore saying there's no editable regions. And if I scroll down, notice how these regions are instantly editable, and that's because of the changes I made in Muse. This is a better approach for applying these than doing them directly in Surreal. So from here, we could change the headline. Let's just go like this. Headline 1. We could change this. Okay. And as we scroll down, you'll notice that anything we define as editable can now be revised. So this image could, all of this text in this block. just like that. And when we're done editing this page, we can go up to save and click publish. And it's going to instantly publish those changes onto the web. So you see now if I refresh my homepage outside of the Surreal editor, all of these changes have been made instantly. Pretty awesome.